Hello, this is the Knit Girls. This is episode 241. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
And I'm Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. Hope the audio is better this week than it was last week. Let us know kindly. Um, it is February 17th, 2015, and we're recording late this week. Laura had a stomach bug, and my work has been insane. So this is the first opportunity that we've had.
Mostly my stomach bug, was terrible. I would not wish that on anyone. I was throwing up most of the weekend, so.
Always a
Anyway,
good time.
high fever. So that was super fun. I got nothing done whatsoever. There he goes. Humberto, when I first called Leslie, he opened the door, and he had a little cat tiff earlier, so he's in a mood. But anyway. This is the knitting show, so let's get on to the knitting. I am knitting on two things. The first is my Washington Square party. This is the second sleeve.
Oh, wow.
So this looks like that. And so the body is knit up to the armpits. This is almost done. The second sleeve's almost done. So then I will join them to the body. I'll do the texture stitch for the yoke, which is around 8 inches, and then the button band. And I will be graft the underarms together, and I will be done. So on some buttons and call it a day. After blocking it, of course.
Cool.
So that is going to be pretty awesome. I'm excited because this has been on the needles for forever. And you can see Humberto's tail because he's super awesome like that. So the yarn that this is out of, I think I'm using size 8 needles. The needles were with it, so I've then never rechecked. But the yarn I'm using is some of Mama Littleman's stash. It is John Q. Designer Nature's Touch.
Oh, yeah. I have 3 of those. You should tell me how that works up when you're done.
You used this already for your Miranda, I thought.
I don't know. I don't think so.
What did you do your Miranda out of then?
I don't know. I'll have to look. No, because I've got... Oh, wait. You might be right. I'm thinking of a different yarn.
No, I'm right.
And humble.
Just ask me. I'm going to move the cat because he's like right up on the microphone, and if he meows, he's going to be super loud. So let me get him out of here. Go bother another cat. He won't move. He'll be back up here in a second. Anyway, the second thing that I'm working on is a pair of Afterthought heel socks that look like that. They are being knit on size 1 needle.
Is that query?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
So this is, I have 300 yards of this. So the woman who runs Query, whose name I don't really know, she sells her skeins in 600 yards. So this is merino nylon blend, and she sells them in 600 yards. And so when this went up for pre-order in July, I was staying with Becca, Wool Pierogi, and I was like, man, I want this yarn, but it's a good cost for 600 yards, but I didn't want knee socks.
Yeah.
So we decided to split it. And that way I'm doing the heels and toes and cuff in this gray from Knit Picks. And then I'm doing the rest in the self-striping. So that made it more in the budget for me. Whoop. That did not keep me from buying another skein of her yarn. That also may split them. It's not a weird put up. Like, I understand why she does it because she can't really divide 600 yards in half. Like, that's what the mill sends her, I'm guessing. So then she'd either have to do like 200 yards, and then she'd have like those extra. It would be labor intensive. So I understand why she does it. So if you can split it with a friend,
yeah,
it works out perfect. The other one I have is it's like a green base and it has a rainbow that stripes.
Oh, cool.
Like it's solid green, like maybe not that green, and then it's got rainbow stripes in between the thicker green stripes. So this is the patchwork colorway. It's really, really pretty, and it's working up really fast because I'm like, oh, new color, because each color is only 3 rows.
Yeah.
These are over 56 stitches because I knit very loose on size 1 needles.
Wow.
It's so funny when I watch like Amy Beth and she's like, 72 on size zeros. Even if I went down to size zeros, I'd probably still be like 64.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm a loose knitter, but they're tight enough. Like that means my socks don't wear as well, but I have lots of socks in the rotation, so it works out.
You're a lucky
Um,
duck.
yeah, I am. These are my Nova Platinas. 16-inch, so I'm using two circulars for this. And I put in some waste yarn during my in-service on Friday, and I've gotten like another inch since then. So it's gray, the yarn, so you can't really see it well. I actually split it between because the stripes are so narrow. I definitely wanted to put in the forethought, the like ripcord line there, because if I cut this, then I'd be losing a row of
Yeah.
each color, and so that would make them even narrower. So I wanted to put in that waste yarn, it's not enough stitches to like the rows aren't wide enough to split evenly,
Right.
and I don't know that that would drive me crazy, but so I'm just splitting it between the two purples, which will be pretty because it's going to be that gray anyways, so it's not like it's going to be one of these colors, so it works
Yeah.
out. So those are the two things that are on my needles currently, and that is all. That is all.
Well, I have a couple of things on my needles. The first I showed you last week. This I am knitting for a booth sample for Steve of
That shawl. Yeah.
Leading Men Fiber Arts and Dramatic Knits podcast. This is the Much Ado shawl, and it's knit out of, what's the base? It is knit out of Dramatic Knits. Showcase. Oh, is it on the show notes? Oh. In the beanstalk colorway. This is a superwash merino. This is what it looks like in the cake.
And his showcase has great yardage. It's like 490 yards.
Yeah. Which is good because at least most, a lot of the knitters that I know won't use 100% merino for socks. So usually you're going to knit a shawl or an accessory, so the larger yardage put up is helpful.
Yep.
That's not to say you can't knit with 100% merino. Just most people that I know that knit them don't use 100% merino. Anyway, this is one repeat of the shawl pattern. It's got a picot beaded edge.
Cute.
And pretty much anything with lace looks crazy until you block it. So
that's very true.
This is, again, it's only one repeat, so I haven't knit a bunch on it this week, just here and there. It's going to go with me on my trip this week, so it'll get, because it's actually really easy. You just have to keep track of what row you're on, so.
Okay, that sounds like plain knitting.
Yeah, it's good plain knitting, good airport knitting, good sit around and talk knitting. On the other hand, this other pattern that I'm knitting is not. Where did it go? Here it is. Okay, so I've had this pattern in my queue for a while, for over a year, maybe 2 years, and it's called Pucker.
What's it by?
It is a 2-color sock pattern, and it's knit using mosaic knitting, so slip stitches.
Pretty.
And I saw this and I thought, oh man, that's really cool. And I wanted something relatively simple but not totally brainless to take with me.
You did not achieve that.
Well, it's not the pattern directions that are the problem, because really once you get past the ribbing, it's just one chart and it's super intuitive. Like once you get through a chart, it makes total sense and you can really tell what's going to happen. That part's not the problem. The problem is with my ability to choose appropriate colors, which is ironic because the one and only class that I'm taking at Quiltcon is has to do with choosing the values of colors and how they interact with each other. So,
that'll be good though, because you can bring that to other things as well.
I can. It would have been more helpful before I started this. So I am using 2 Leading Men Fiber Arts yarns.
Okay.
Totally by chance. Basically, they were the newest thing I had in my stash because I got them at SSK. And they were the same base, so I wanted to use them. So the first one is Ain't My First Rodeo. And this is in the merino nylon base, which is Showstopper, which is, it's
Uh-huh.
basically just sort of
Brownish gray, it kind
brown
of
and
looks,
gray, yeah.
but a light brownish gray.
hmm With little dapples of blue in it.
Okay.
And the other was the SSK colorway called That Somewhere.
Okay.
So, and this is
Also kind of light. It's not like a super dark
yeah,
saturated color.
it's kind of pastelish in some areas, but I thought that they would be different enough.
Hmm.
But this is the second alternate color. The first alternate color that I picked out was Rancid Rainbow, which is a Tempting You yarn.
Uh-huh.
And it was much brighter and much like,
Yeah.
but it had the same sort of brownish in it in spots, so it
Uh-huh.
made it really hard. But anyway, so I ripped that out. I decided to go with this one, and it's still, I'm not happy with it. And I've done an entire chart repeat because I thought, well, I just got to trust the pattern, trust the pattern. I don't think that's the problem. I think I just suck at picking out colors. So you can see the color variation, but not enough. And I think
Not enough for all the work that you're putting in.
the problem is that in mosaic knitting, it's not like Fair Isle. You're only working one color per row.
Yeah.
Any of the alternate, so if I work the variegated color on one row, I'm slipping the stitches of the solid.
Yes.
And I think that the problem is that my row gauge and my stitch gauge are just so dramatically different that it's causing a problem. Because you should be able to see the line go down, over, and it's just not happening.
No, I think the color value of your yarns are too similar.
Well, that may be part of the problem, but still I've got these weird areas where I've got like holes almost on the pickups, and you shouldn't based on the pattern.
How are you picking up the stitches?
I'm just slipping them. I'm not actually
Oh.
picking them up. And it's all around. It's on the opposite sides of the pattern as well. And it sucks because I'm actually really liking this base a lot. It's kind of got like a silky feeling to it, which is nice to work with in a sock yarn. It's Showstopper, so it's merino nylon.
Okay.
And I really wanted to take this with me. I really wanted this freaking socks, but it's not going to
You
happen.
might need to convince someone else to knit them for you.
Yeah, probably, because my row and stitch gauge are very different.
Did you look at projects on Ravelry to
I
see if
did.
other people had that issue?
I did. I went and looked at people. I appreciate it when people put in, like, this is what my sock looked like, you know, a quarter into it, and this is what my sock looked like at the end and all that, so that I could look and say, well, maybe I just need to do another repeat and then it'll suddenly pop. But no, most people, by the time they got through one chart repeat, it was very clear what was happening. And that's just not happening on this one. So it's okay. I like the yarn. I'll use it in something else, but it's just not going to go with me like I had hoped. Which
So what are you going to take with you instead? Because you're leaving tomorrow. You're taking the shawl.
I am. I'm taking the shawl, and then I have another pattern on the needles somewhere down here. I'll have to find it, but it is one of the patterns from Coop Knits, the hat, the two-color hat that I started, and I only got through one repeat. It's down here somewhere. I'll probably take that with me, so I'll have that plus the shawl, and then I might wind up the skein of another Crafty Girl in the glitch
Uh-huh.
and take it with me just for some simple stockinette as a backup. I really don't think I'm going to get through both of those things.
But I think you need something that's more stockinette based for when you're sitting around talking to people and you don't want to pay attention to what you're knitting on.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm
Versus
just disappointed. I really wanted those stupid socks. But that's okay.
It'll happen.
Anyway, so that's what I'm knitting. Those are the things that I'm knitting and not knitting in succession.
You have a finished object, I can tell.
I do, actually. I have two finished objects. So the first is my
Oh, fun!
sunrise socks. These are by, the yarn is by Yarn vs. Zombies.
Do you have your hangers hanging up on one of the IKEA
I do.
racks? That's super smart.
I did that because I thought, well, I could never find these stupid things, so this is what they look like. There's two, but I'm only showing you one. I did a much longer cuff than I usually do, and I was playing yarn chicken at the end, but I ended up with one repeat of each color left, so
Wow.
I did pretty well.
You did.
The stripes match everywhere because I'm like that, and I haven't worn them yet because I wanted to show them, but I'll take them with me this weekend and wear them at some point.
Oh, they match your sweater perfectly almost.
Almost. And I have a sweater that's finished. Let me stand up and I will show you. Alright, I'm going to unplug my earbuds, so there might be some static. It will go away when I plug my earbuds back in. So if that bothers you, forewarning you, just turn the sound down a little bit. Alright, I gotta turn this up so I can hear you. Okay, so I finished my pumpkin ale. I'm wearing pajamas, by the way.
That's what I do when I get home.
That's my phone. I should take it out. So this is my pumpkin ale. And the back.
It's gorgeous, dear.
Came out very nicely. I used an old shirt for the pockets and realized when I sat down to record and put my hands in my pockets that I had sewn this one backwards.
Oh.
So I untacked it. I have to sew it back down, but I had tacked it down backwards.
Gotcha.
So this is the week of fail, basically.
No.
I did get in all the repeats. I was worried because several people said that this pattern ate more yarn than it called for. And I only had 4 skeins of this yarn, and that was it. And
Good luck finding more.
huh? Yeah.
Good luck finding more.
But I ended up being fine. I ended up with probably 100 and something yards left over. It did use more than it called for, but not so much that...
You would have run out.
Right. Because I always tend to overestimate, because I'm a big girl. But,
Understandable. I always overestimate. Well, I tend to underestimate, but I always add length. So
yeah. I also wanted to say that I did not alternate skeins, because I'm just an idiot that way. But it was okay because it's Woolmiza, and they're usually dyed in large batches. And when I laid the skeins out, I could see no difference whatsoever. And I still can't see it in the finished object. Plus, this thing goes in so many directions, I'm not sure that you'd be able to tell.
I think with that sweater you're fine. With my one that I did out of the blue, I did not alternate skeins. To be honest, I didn't even think about it. And there is a line, but it's right where the like belt part of it is almost. So it looks like it's a natural
Like
change.
a feature, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I got lucky.
Well, you're going so many different directions too.
Yeah.
So that's good.
You do change direction on this several times, and I'm very happy with it, which is a rare thing to be able to say in one of my sweaters. I will not be giving it away. I will be keeping it.
Good. I'm
But
glad.
it will go with me to SSK. It'll go into the try-it-on room so people can, check it out. And
Wonderful.
I don't know what my next sweater will be. It'll be something out of this red. I keep carrying it around with me because it's so pretty. I love it so much. I just need to pick a pattern. This is the mustache yarns in the cherry something. Queen
That is really
something. I can't remember the colorway, but it's very pretty. Queen of Hearts. There we go. Anyway, that's my knitting for the week. You have some finished stuff, right?
I do. My video and audio just got really off, so I might be a little bit I might look like I'm very confused for a second. So I'm waiting for it to catch back up. I get that deer in the headlights look. I finished 2 things. That's my normal look, I think. I finished Ishbel.
Yay!
So Ishbel is done.
How do you feel about it now that it's finished?
I like it now that it's done. It is huge, and it used more yarn than I thought it would. Well, first off, I had to rip back all the lace that had already been done. So when I put in my owl thing, I think I said that I was only going to knit 30 grams of yarn on it, and I ended up knitting over 100.
Because
so
you
that's
ripped back and...
I ripped back, but I also took almost a full extra ball than I was thinking it would.
Do you get credit for that?
Yeah, I mean, I get credit that it's finished.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so that's the problem with like detention owl is you're not just anyway, because you're finishing stuff. So I like it. I was very disappointed in the yarn. I don't know what yarn it is. I think it was Aslan Trends, but I have no idea. It was in 50-gram balls, so I used 4 50-gram balls, which is already a good amount.
Mm-hmm.
And I was finding 2 to 3 knots per 50-gram ball. So I had a lot of ends weaving on the sucker. But I put on, there's a wonderful blocking class on Craftsy by Kate Atherny.
Atherley.
Atherny. And so I watched that as I wove in ends and then took it for a dunk and blocked it and then immediately got sick. So it worked out well.
I'll say
that
it's
it
the shawl's fault. It's the shawl that gave you the
yeah,
stomach flu.
obviously that's it. But so it ended up getting blocked, and it's perfect. And it smells good. I used the last of my Soak Unleash scent wash on it, so it smells really good. So that is done. I just have to photograph it for the class or for the owl, and then I also can't decide where I'm putting stuff. I finished the knitting part of the little owl hat.
Aww.
I am either going to do buttons or French knots for the eyes. I'm leaning towards buttons because it is such a bulky weight yarn.
I
So
agree.
it needs eyes, but I'm not doing safety eyes. So it needs eyes right there. And then it gets little tassels right here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was still drying, so it just came off my, I have a mesh sweater dryer. So I put it on there. I actually pinned, there's one loose stitch because you're crossing so many stitches right here. There's
Mm-hmm.
one little loose stitch. So I put a pin there to kind of like tighten that stitch up a little bit. But other than that, just laid it flat. I really, really enjoyed. This is Mammoth Yarn by Dream in Color. It's a brand new yarn. This will be the second project in Ravelry. The first one done out of it. And this is the Rabbit Ears colorway. 821. It says that it's a soft velvety wool and a bulky weight. Totally true. It's super soft. It's velvety. It is not a superwash, but it is American wool, which I always appreciate that. And Dream in Color is out of Chicago right now. I think they're moving to Arizona though,
Oh, I didn't know that.
or New Mexico. They are moving their base of operations. They said they're sick of the Chicago winters.
I can't blame them for that.
Wop, 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 wop. I think that's them. It's either Dream in Color or Lorna's. It's
I
one
know
of those.
Dream in Color was in the Chicago area.
They both are, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Dream in Color though. I might be totally making stuff up as I do. But this is the Chouette. And I really like the Mammoth base. It's soft and squishy and would be perfect for a sweater because it's plied.
It's got nice stitch definition.
And it has great, on a cable, great stitch definition. So Leslie's still looking for a project for hers,
Mm-hmm.
but cables in it really pop nicely.
I've gotten my fill of cables for a little while.
I'm sure you have.
They're beautiful, but tedious.
And then I have two spinning finished objects. I spun this on, and Leslie spun a little bit of this too, like for 2 seconds because she tried out my shocked reeves.
Yeah, the shocked reeves.
So I spun, this is Southern Cross Fiber in the 12 colorway. It is a Polworth Tencel mix. I really, David has a habit of changing my mind about fibers I don't like because his blends are just so nice. It is a Doctor Who reference, the 12. But this was the first top I spun on that wheel. So it's a little bit overspun, but it's 450 yards of a 2-ply. So it'll make a good scarf. It's nice and squishy, and it's got that shine to it. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
I really am digging that. And then the other thing that I plied were I got some Rolags, or by Wolpergy, she calls them Rolka. And I had like 1.8 ounces of those and 2 ounces of Gale's Art Natural Swirl Merino. I have another 2 ounces that I'm holding on for later. And I applied the two of those together. And this is Auntie Lala is number 2. His Nick's number 1.
Nick is her son, correct.
And so I can't remember if it's Auntie. He calls me something else. It's Ants, but it's It's not Auntie. That's what the nieces call me.
Mm.
But that's the purple is hers, and that swirl, that gray merino,
Of Gail's art.
really nice with it. It's around 200 yards from what I can recall. So I like it's got some sparkle to it. It was a nice blend of fibers. She does really good prep on her stuff. So it's soft and squishy. I think I over applied a little bit because it's not as soft as it could be. I had a little bit too much twist, and I was like going to town on my mini spinner trying to apply stuff the other day.
You only have one speed with your mini spinner.
It's like 12.
Yeah, when the smoke's coming out of it, yeah.
It shut itself off again. It did when I was playing that. I was like, so that's fun. What else do I have? That's it for spinning for the most part. I have a bunch of stuff to apply. I have some Joanna Spring. They're like winter barn bats on the Shaktareeves that are just absolutely stunning. I have 4 ounces of those that I'm going to apply with 4 ounces of long wool that I got when I was with Joanna at Paula of Knitting Pipelines retreat last year. So I'm going to apply this.
She had a bat that I really loved, and I waited too long, and it was gone.
You can't wait.
It was flannel PJs or something, but it was like gray with muted pastels. It was so pretty.
She's like the sweetest person ever. I love, if you follow her on Instagram, I think it's Joanna Spring. She puts up the cutest pictures of her animals.
Of her farm, yeah.
Wonderful photographer.
I would also suggest, I don't think I talked about this last week, but if you haven't watched Joanna Spring, I would suggest that you check out, not her most recent one, I believe it's 101, I'm checking right now, and I'll put a link in the show notes, yes, episode 101, and I don't know, I guess some people really love or hate certain personalities, and Joanna's one of those people that I just want to sit and listen to her talk and tell me about her farm life and tell me about, you know, how she cans her jam and like all these different things that she does on the podcast.
Person to have a conversation with for sure.
And she's very real. And she makes no apologies for how she looks or how she acts or how she talks, or she is just who she is, and I admire her for that. And
she's also one of the sweetest people ever.
Yes. So I will put a link in the show notes. I would, if you haven't watched her, I would check out episode 101 and watch it all the way to the end for the bonus dance footage because it's totally worth it.
She can always make you smile.
Yes.
I'm a little bit behind on her. I need to catch up. I did Amy Beth of the Fat Squirrel marathon. I watched like 7 of hers back to back yesterday while I was just laying on my couch sick, not doing anything. And then I like would mishear what she said. I have to go back and be like, "What now?"
Yeah.
Oh, I love Amy Beth. She's so funny.
Yeah. We know some really great people. So.
Anyway, so that's my spinning. What have you been reading, my dear? We're not doing a book review or a question this week, just
because I'll talk about it more in favorite things, but we just have not had time to devote to actually looking at any of the books that we're reviewing, so we don't want to be unfair and give you a crappy review. So we'll just put it off for a week. I read this week there is a new, well, I guess she's new to me, author called Sarah King, and she's a science fiction author, and she lives in Alaska, and she's kind of a badass. She there's pictures of her on her blog, because yes, I went and looked at her blog, where she's like
author's blog,
catching fish and skinning a bear, and like, she's a badass, dude. But, anyway, I appreciated how she wrote, this series around a character called Zero. It's aliens, and there's an alien congress, and they have boot camp, and it's it can be kind of rough, but it's very humorous at the same time. And she's gotten 3 of the 4 books out that are in the series, and I read all 3 of them this week. They were really good. So now I'm moving on to another one of hers, a different series. What about you? What are you reading?
I finished Heir of the Dog by Haley Edwards, which is paranormal, not romance, paranormal fantasy type thing. Goes between Fairy and Texas. It was good. It was very like The Wild Hunt. It reminded me a little bit of Patricia Briggs. Not as well written as Patricia Briggs because Patricia Briggs is a very high standard to live up to.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is one of my favorite authors of all time. Her and Alana Andrews, which is a husband-wife team. So, but really, really good. Interesting premise. Different turn of events than the normal paranormal stuff. So I really, really enjoyed that. The third one, it's weird. So she wrote the first one, and then she went to a con, and everyone was like, "Oh no, you must." So the first one's really like a prequel, like of this character as a young adult type thing, but it's not a young adult series. I don't want you to think that it is because it's totally not. And then the second book, which is actually really the first, is her as an adult. And then there's a third one coming out in April. So really good. Super not expensive, I don't feel like. I think it was fairly inexpensive actually, but well written. An interesting premise. On other books, I'm going into favorite things. I found the coolest thing ever. If you're geeky like me, they're the coolest thing ever. They're called Baby Lit books.
Oh, wow.
And they're board books. And they're not super cheap. They're like $10 each. I might have gotten these for all the other baby showers I go to this year. Don't judge me. And so this is, they're like Little Masters. So this is Little Master Carol, and there's a Little Master Austin. And so this is a colors primer using Alice in Wonderland. So there's a white rabbit and black shoes. And so it's an interesting way to brown bat. A brown hat. I can't even read. Little bats over there. But pink flamingos. But it's an interesting way of introducing kids to things like Lewis Carroll with very basic concepts. And then the other one that I have is Sherlock Holmes.
Nice.
And this one is noises. It's a sounds primer. So hounds howl. It's a little bit creepy. Thunder rumbles.
The art in there is very unusual.
Yeah. Gates screech. So I'm really digging them. I also got a book by the same author that I didn't like as much that I thought I would as an actual not board book, but it's Nevermore. It's like based off The Raven, but it's not nearly. These are like very simple concepts. That one's not, and the storylines. I have high expectations for picture books, so the storyline's not exactly where I want it to be. But I thought these were. I mean, it'll still be a good. All the people. I should preface this. All the people who are pregnant at my school are English teachers.
Oh, well, that's helpful.
So, yeah, it'll be perfect. Those three will be perfect for those. So. I thought they were very cool. Like, there's a little Austin, there's a little Wuthering Heights, there's a whole bunch of stuff. They're happens to be having one girl and two boys. So the Edgar Allan Poe, and 8th grade teaches Edgar Allan Poe, so the Nevermore one really worked for that. And they also teach a little bit of Sherlock Holmes, so it worked for that. But yeah, I was excited about those. I talked about how I shotgunned Amy Beth. The other thing that I shotgunned is I was just laying on my bed or in my couch this weekend sick was Comic Book Men. Have you watched Comic?
Right?
Yes.
No,
okay.
I've seen the previews, but I haven't watched it yet.
So Kevin Smith is the director of Clerks and Silent Bob and Jay.
Dogma.
Yeah, Dogma, Mallrats,
Jersey
tons.
Girl.
I haven't seen that one.
That one's more like romantic comedy. People gave him crap about it, but it was all right.
I like Kevin Smith, and actually, Clerks is a lot of. He sold off his comic book collection to pay for Clerks.
Yeah.
And a lot of his friends were actually actors.
Mm-hmm.
Local Jersey guys were actors in. The actors were actually his friends, and so he owns a comic book store in Jersey, which my brother-in-law and I are going to someday. We've already got a plan because we're the super fans of the show, called Silent Bob and Jay's Secret Stash. And it's not just a comic book store. They also buy things like memorabilia and toys, but not loose action figures. But all this memorabilia that goes along with the comic books, like figures, which
Right.
go for crazy amounts of money. And so they have people come in and they bring in the craziest stuff like that was made. Like there's a Mr. T sprinkler that was made in the 70s when
Wow.
he was in like A Team. Um, the woman from the original Star Trek, the African American woman whose name I'm forgetting now.
I
I know
never
you
watched the
watched the
original.
original.
Yeah.
She came in. She never had one of her figures from the original
Oh,
show, so
that's a
she was looking
tragedy.
for that, and she gave them 2 hours to find it.
Oh.
Yeah, but while she was there, she was telling the story of like she was going to quit the show after the first season, and Martin Luther King and her had a conversation that she should not quit the show, and it was like little
You,
tidbits of history.
yeah.
So it's kind of like Pawn Stars
Yeah.
combined with like the geekery that I
Geekiness.
love
Yeah.
and some hilarious people. It is super not appropriate for children.
Well, yeah, anything with Kevin Smith is not going to be kid friendly.
I mean, but Kevin, basically the format of it is the guys who work in the secret stash. One of them was, both of them, Bry, who doesn't really work there. He just kind of hangs out from what I can tell. And Walt, who's the manager, were like Kevin Smith's best friends growing up. So, they're kind of giving him like a recap, kind of like a podcast recap of what happened that week. And then there's two other guys. But it's really entertaining. They're only like 25 minutes each. If you're into that kind of reality TV, it's lighthearted, but they've got good hearts. Like one of the guys lost his entire comic book collection in Hurricane Sandy. And so the guys wanted to jumpstart his collection again. So they had like one of his favorite artists draw him in an original piece of artwork.
Oh, that's cool.
And the guy came to the shop and like presented it to him. Like real Stan Lee makes some appearances. Just some really cool folks that you're like, oh, I know you. Dean Cain was on it.
Oh, Dean Cain.
I love Dean Cain. He's so hilarious. He actually he started by being drafted. Like his whole career, he was like drafted by the Buffalo Bills. Did you know that? He was like a football player and then got into acting. I don't think he ever played in a game, but he was originally drafted by the Buffalo Bills. See, little facts you learn from things like comic book men. But it's a good show and it's lots of fun. Totally not kid appropriate, but fun and interesting. I think you would like it.
Yeah,
and that was
right.
That was like a long commercial for comic book men, but I find it entertaining. But I also have a mind in the gutter most of the time too, so. Especially when I'm sick. I went through the whole seasons 2 and 3 or what's on Netflix. I shotgun those babies like back to back. I think I watched like 40 episodes. And I was so disappointed because season 4 is only half done and it's available online, but you have to have a cable login. I don't have cable, so I'll have to wait till it comes on Netflix. It'll be fine. So that's my obsession. We have a giveaway to do.
We do.
And that's for Kicks and Giggles. So y'all had a couple extra days to get in entries for that.
Yes. And it was a $25 gift certificate, right? That Kim
I believe so.
had us give away. I'm pulling out my phone so I can do the random number generator, not because I'm rude and looking through my phone.
You are rude, but you know.
Try not to be rude in front of people, but I don't want to ruin my rep, you know.
It's 2 through 250.
2 through 250. That's a nice even number.
It's a $30 gift certificate to the shop. And she's also offering a 10% off code with the discount for this month with the code TheKnitGirlls with 3 L's rock, all in capital letters. And all the details for that are in the thread.
Okay. The winner is number 202, which should be on the next to the last page.
Okay. I was just locking it so no one else could get in. 202. AM Knits 18. She loves the Geek Glasses fabric. Reminds me of my favorite show, Big Bang Theory, which is also an awesome show. And that's Amy. So, Amy, if you will go ahead and contact me, Lala on Ravelry, I will get your details over to the Kicks and Giggles folk.
Yes, because I'll be out for the rest of the week.
Yep, I figured.
So we have a giveaway for next week, though.
We do. We have Fix-A-Stitch. So Fix-A-Stitch is this really, actually the ladies that are in my local knit group came over and were playing with it. my friend Gail messed up a cable cross, so she had messed it up down here and then knit all like around 7 more inches. And so what we did was we dropped it down,
Mm-hmm.
and every time we I shouldn't say we. Joanne dropped it down because she's amazing. And every time she came to like a cable cross, she would clip the stitches, the threads together. So Gail would know like in what bunch, like 5. They were grouped in
Oh.
like bunches of 5. Isn't that smart? And so Gail then used the fix-a-stitch to like pull those stitches up. I think it was like a 2x2 cable, and she pulled them up, and then she crossed them when she got to the last one, the last thread clipped. Does that make sense?
It's hard for
So
me to picture it.
she would take like one of those. I don't think I have. So when you pull down a stitch, when you drop down a stitch, you have the strands that run behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would take like one of the safety pin markers,
Mm-hmm.
and she would clip the bars together that were a repeat. So if there were 5 bars for that repeat,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
together, and that way they were already grouped in groups of 5, so it made it a little bit more manageable. Does
That's
that
a
make
very
sense?
smart idea.
Joanne's exceptionally smart, and she makes really good food that she brings over to my house, and then Eloise steals. Totally calling Eloise out on that. Anyway, so they use the fix-a-stitch, and we have a set. These go together. One is they're basically what they are. They're crochet hooks on either end,
Mm-hmm.
and they make it really easy to pull up stitches in both stockinette, garter, um, for cables. You could even use them as extra cable needles if you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got lace ones that are super tiny. So these go together, and we have the 2 to give away together. So one winner for the 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really cool. We're going to have, they actually sent us a set for the tasting room at SSK as well as a door prize to give away. So that's really cool as well. So we'll have these for y'all to try out at SSK as well. They're just a little neat, handy device.
Yeah.
Throw in your notions bag to make life easier. So you don't have to tank back or rip down so many rows. You can just fix that one misplaced stitch.
Yeah, and I'll actually link. There is a great YouTube video for how to use them, and the proprietor of the company shows you how to use them in stockinette, reverse stockinette, garter, and she makes it very easy. So
So we'll do a random generation on this, but tell us how you would use these. What you would use these for? How about that?
Okay.
Why you need them? Sell it to me. Even though it's a random generator, make the random generator work for it.
Okay.
So I'll start that thread tonight so that it's ready to roll.
And I've linked the video in the show notes.
Wonderful.
So
what else do we have?
well,
You're going someplace.
I am, but before I talk about that, I just wanted to talk about the SSK Scholarship again.
Okay.
We announced this last week, and we wanted to talk about it again because we are very lucky to have Three Waters Farm sponsor a scholarship to our SSK event. So what they're doing is essentially they're paying for an on-site spot for someone, which includes most meals, lodging, and all the stuff that you get as an attendee, a goodie bag, a class, entry to the market, all that sort of thing. And the only thing that you have to do to enter to win this scholarship is to write us a little essay on how you would use what you learn in SSK back in your home environment. All the details for this are on our Ravelry board for SSK, Super Summer Knit Together. I'll make sure that it's linked in the show notes. But the deadline for entering is the end of this month, so we have another 10 days, a little over 10 days, 11 days to enter.
No, it's a short month.
Yes.
You have like a week. Oh, no, it's a week from this coming Saturday.
Yes.
It's the 28th, right? Yeah.
So, and once we collect all the entries, it all goes to one mailbox, and then Laura and I will strip out any details saying who the person is or anything like that, and then we'll put them where all of our SSK attendees can read and vote on them. So, play to your audience. It's going to be totally unbiased. Laura and I have zero say in who wins the scholarship. It's all up to our attendees and their voting. So,
But we're kicking in $100 for the market.
yes, we are also throwing in $100 for spending at the market. The only thing that the attendee would be responsible for is getting there and dinners. Dinners are on your own for everyone. So that would be a cost that the attendee would be responsible for. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the thread. Again, I will make sure that that is all linked. And we're really excited about seeing what people have to say and what they would do with a free spot at SSK.
It's pretty awesome. And thank you so much, Three Waters
Yes.
Farms, for sponsoring that. That's unbelievable.
Doing a wonderful job. Also, last thing that I can think of this week is I'm going out of town. I'm going to Quiltcon
It's going to
in
be so much fun.
Austin. Tomorrow I leave in the morning. I drive up and meet Sharon, and then we fly out of Newark because I could get direct flights out of Newark, and I could not out of Philadelphia. So I'm flying straight from Newark to Austin, and once we get there, we'll meet up with Megan, Crafty Pancakes, Denise, D-Knits, hopefully Emo, Sarah, Eat My Oxygen. And at some point during the week, I'll be there from Wednesday until Sunday. I'll leave on Sunday. And at some point during that time, I will spend some time with our friend Renee, who is Knit Whiskers. And I plan to do some shopping at the market.
It's going to be so much fun.
Eat some good Mexican food and some good barbecue, and maybe
Have you been to Texas before?
I've been through Texas, and I've been...
Whoa, what happened?
Nothing's wrong on my end. Maybe it froze on your end. Anyhow, I have been through Texas.
Yeah, it froze on my end. Okay, well, I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah, Michael is working late tonight, and so he's on our landline, which also goes through our internet connection, so the video may look funny. Sorry, it's unavoidable. Anyhow, I'm scattered, and I know that, and I apologize if this has been a very weird episode, because I felt very scatterbrained.
Well, have fun in Texas, and so our episode next week will be a little bit late.
Yes, because I'll get back Sunday evening, but we probably won't record until Monday evening, because I won't get home until the time that we usually record, and probably would be rude for me to walk in and say, I haven't seen you in a week, see you later, I gotta go record. So anyhow, so we'll record a week late, or a day late on Monday. I need some sleep or something, but I have to pack first.
We'll go pack and get this up, and we will see everyone in a week.
Yep. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.